It is marked in the dashed pink line on the South Capitol Street bar on the courtyard side.
And what floor is it on?
The third floor.
The third floor, right above the private drive to the private street and the driveway, next to a building, a blank wall of a building. If I'm a realtor and I want to get rid of the worst unit, that's where I would put it, wouldn't it? That's probably the worst place, the worst unit you've got in your whole building is right there. But let's make it the IZ unit. Why not? Because we're not making a lot of money on it. I think that's disgusting. That's my own personal feeling. You really, to me, have picked the worst unit to make the IZ unit. Over on the third floor, right above the drives. I can't believe it. You know, Ms. Shaker, you really got to think about this. You got to talk to the applicant and find out why they would be. Never mind. I'm not. You know what my comments are. You know where I'm going on this. I'm always concerned about where you put the IZ units. I can't imagine if you had more IZ units where you'd be putting them. But Ms. Shaker, you know I'm going on this. Think about it.
Commissioner Turnbull, we can look at the location of the IZ unit and get back to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Parking.
Could you repeat that again, please?
It's Sacklaritas.
Okay, Sacklaritas. Okay.
No,
you can call me Anthony, and I'll just call you Robbie. Is that okay?
okay. Yeah, deal.
That'll be easy. All right. And you can call me Anthony too. So my question, you mentioned about the money that you all were placing, I guess, for affordable housing. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly what the presentation was. When you go last, sometime you hear a lot of discussion. You forget some things, but help me to remember or recall. You mentioned you all were putting a lot of money for affordable housing somewhere, right?
Right.
Why not start here?
Right. So JBG across is focused on all three aspects of the mayor's housing initiative regarding rental affordability. One is the production of 36,000 new market rate units. Two is the 12,000 new affordable units. And three is the preservation of an estimated 4,700 existing dedicated affordable units whose affordability controls will expire by 2025. So within the JBG structure, this site specifically is targeting that first category and delivering new market rate units, which is a key component of the initiative. And it's provided rent relief across DC as evidenced by the January 2020 study issued by the Office of the CFO. The Washington Housing Initiative is another portion within JBG's realm and approach to affordability. They are focused on the other two components, including the production and preservation of affordable units, separate and apart from this specific site, targeting high impact areas where the affordability tools are offered as outlined in the housing equity report, such as bonus density or tax credits and other incentives that yield more affordable housing for the investment.
Again, my question, and I appreciate the long answer, but my question again is still, why not start here? If you don't have an answer for me, just say, I've given you the answer, I don't have an answer.
Sure. Yeah, that's the answer.
Okay. All right. Do we have that answer that you just gave, Ms. Shaka? Is that in the file somewhere? If not, I'd like to have her answer in the file.
Yes, we can provide that, Chairman Hood.
Okay. Mr. Turnbull mentioned the IZ unit. I agree with him 100%. 100%. And that happens, and I hear him actually bring that up a lot. And you know, I'm not picking on this afternoon, but we hear a lot of things a lot, twice a week, 3 times a week. We hear, oh, we can't do that. Your regulations don't say this, or this is what we're confined to as non-voluntary. Come on. At the end of the day, from what I see in this record, with the opposition of whatever they ask for, at the end of the day, you're going to develop and you're going to leave. But when you develop, we have a neighborhood that's going to be developed, and those people who live around there and the citizens of this city are going to have to endure whatever's left. So I kind of go along with the vice chair. Even though the law doesn't say, sometimes we need applicants to come down and just go ahead and sometimes just do it, and not getting on your on this applicant, Ms. Eichler, or your client. But we hear that all the time. Well, the zoning regulations, but what irritates me the most is when I hear him say, well, we don't have to do that. Okay, we already know that. We know what the regulations are. We get it. We know what the regulations, we know what's been crafted, and we might need to revisit it. So some of the things that this community is asking for, we can get there. I know JBG can get there. So, you know, I'm not going to go through a whole lot of what if and what is, and we don't want to do this. Sometimes it's about being a good neighbor. You don't have to do all of it, but sometimes it's about just being a good neighbor. When you move, you come in and do something in a community where people live, sometimes it's about doing it. If they need a little more affordable housing, just do it. You can do it. It's not always about the profit. But anyway, I know what I'm saying wouldn't stand up in court. I'm not that naive, but I know that you all are going by our regulations, which we need to relook at. I'm going to ask Office of Planning, let's start looking at this, our design review, because I can tell you that to have council members usually don't weigh in. And that's troubling because Councilmember Allen weighed in on this case, and he represents the whole ward. And to me, that's big hesitation for me. And yeah, there are some design issues which you have worked out and some that have not been worked out. But for me, I'm going to leave it at that. I don't have a lot of questions. But when I read this, was troubling. When I read this, we don't have to do this. It's not in your regulations. No, we didn't. When we codified regulations, sometimes we missed stuff. But it doesn't take anything to just fill in a few of the gaps. That's all. That's all my ask is. And I'm going to leave it at that. But I am going to ask the Office of Planning, let's relook at what we have in front of us.
I feel I need to say that for me, the affordable housing is a showstopper. I realize the movement that has occurred on this and what the requirements and the regulations are. But there also, as Mr. McKinney and others have noted, there is the comprehensive plan, overarching civic priority. It's above everything else of affordable housing, and it's in the guiding principles of the Southwest Plan, and it's in what's in our Constitution. Our Home Rule Charter says that zoning shall not be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And while we may not have a specific regulation that required a specific amount of a specific type of or size or location, affordable housing for this particular area and this particular site, there's nothing to stop the applicant from providing it if they so choose to do so. And it certainly would be consistent, more consistent with the comprehensive plan's overarching principles and Southwest Plan's overarching principles. And I would say also more in conformance with the general special exception criteria relief, which is applicable in this case, that there not be an adverse effect on the neighborhood. Although no one's being displaced from the physical site of this project, the overall effect of this huge amount of very expensive housing on a neighborhood, this gentrification that's happening in our city, you can't deny that it's having an effect on the housing prices and the availability of housing to people of all affordable levels. So I would just, as the applicant goes back to and said that the applicant's representative said they're willing to go back and try once more, as they have in the past, to have further movement on design issues, on easement issues. I really encourage them to also pursue more movement on the affordable housing issues closer to what would be required if it were required, acknowledging that it isn't required if inclusionary zoning were applicable, both in the number of units, more in the closer to the 8 to 10%, not 3%, closer to the locational, the proportional issues in terms of size, the size of the units and the quality of the units and the location. So all of that, I think, should be worked on and would be an important way to move this project forward.
Hi, Commissioner. Can I go ahead?
Yes, you may proceed.
Okay. All right. Sorry, we have a crying baby.
If I remember correctly, is it 3 months?
Yep, 3 months. Yep.
Okay, so I got a pretty good memory. I can remember.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Already.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Cam McKinney, and I live in Southwest with my husband and 3-month-old daughter. I'm also the president of Southwest Community Gardens, which is only a few blocks from the proposed project. I'm speaking to you tonight as a concerned Southwest resident. My remarks have not changed much from what I originally planned to say in October, and I fully support our ANC's letter of opposition and concerns with this project. I ask the Commission to please reject this development until the project design is an example of equity and inclusion Southwest Neighborhood Plan. The Southwest Plan is supposed to be a guiding document for development in Southwest. This plan states, quote, I'm sure you've heard many times, Southwest will remain an exemplary model of equity and inclusion, a welcoming and engaged community that celebrates and retains a mix of races, ages, and income levels and enhances well-being for all amidst neighborhood growth and change, end quote. Residents stated they wanted new housing developments to offer varied products, especially unit size for families. As this is a guiding document for Southwest, every project should be analyzed with this plan in mind. And as Commissioner Fast noted, this will be one of the largest developments in Southwest. Thus, I find this project still does not meet the standards laid out in the Southwest Plan. Looking at the design, there's no unified presence in the neighborhood, as ANC has stated. And I agree with the ANC in their view of how a tiered design could better reflect elements of Southwest. The pitiful amount of affordable housing, not even 3%, offered does not speak to equity or inclusion, nor uplifts the goals of the Southwest Plan. Even JBG Smith has its own corporate stated goals towards diversity and inclusion. Quote, at JBG Smith, we know that prioritizing diversity and inclusion is not only the right thing to do, but the smart thing to do, end quote. However, it seems these are just words and not actually in practice, especially not in this project. There's no diversity in the design to reflect Southwest historic elements, as ANC 60 also noted. The abysmal amount of diversity in offering 3-bedroom family-sized or affordable units for this project is insulting when they say that prioritizing diversity and inclusion is the, quote, smart thing to do. I think we all know why the IZ unit is placed in the worst location of the building, because those who can't afford market rate units aren't worthy enough of a decent view. That tells me all I need to know about JBG Smith and their diversity and inclusion goals. And I hope that they can come to a better resolution than what they've given us. I hope you will heed our ANC's concerns and reject this project as it is now. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This has taken much longer than I thought, and I admire your attention and your help with this. My name is Hara Ann Buganim from 1101 3rd Street Southwest. It's 3 blocks west of the project. I speak from experience on the Southwest Small Area Plan Advisory Committee, involvement with 2 adjoining developers, which ended up in memoranda of agreement, service on our Waterfront Tower Condo Board for over 6 years, and successful placing of our IMP designed condo on the National Register. Like others in opposition, I ask you to delay design approval pending 4 items, some of which overlap things that have been said, so I'll try to be brief. It's terribly important to support the diversity of Southwest, Pam just spoke to. Second, it's also important to involve more Southwest residents fully in the planning of 5M and to be architecturally inclusive and respectful of a green Southwest. Now, the third thing, respect the unique architecture of Southwest. They're bowed to the sanitary homes, which are row houses directly across the street from the project. There's no resemblance whatsoever. There's no way to connect the two. What they have done is put some townhouses at the bottom of a humongous building. You can't even see that from the street. They do have steps to get into them, but that's about it. And there's no connection to the sanitary homes. As far as the mid-century modern developments, very similar. problems. The high and low of Southwest is not really honored. One suggestion would be to emphasize entry to Southwest by stepping down the west side of the building, and that has been said by others. Fourth, no one has mentioned this. Please provide public green street level space. All green space is for the residents of the buildings themselves in the central courtyard and on the roofs. What we're asking for here is something that would look like this, perhaps a semicircular parklet in the southwest corner of 3M with benches, trees, and plantings. On the whole site, there is not one place to sit down, one place for the residents to meet the new people on the street and vice versa, for some kind of integration into the neighborhood. The main entry could be at that space, and it would emphasize a welcoming connection of 5M to Southwest for all, which would be a true gateway. Thank you for listening. I'm one of the few residents who is speaking. I think others have a lot to say. We appreciate a delay that would allow for input to truly merge Southwest and 5M. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. So I'm really at a loss for words. I spent all of today in meetings. I was at the comp plan. I testified in the comp plan. There was a housing authority meeting around Greenleaf. And one of the central themes was affordable housing. That's everybody was talking about affordable housing. And so, of course, I'm going to talk about that as well. And I mean, it's heartbreaking that JBG would offer 3% and then hide behind rules and regulations. Like, it's the same type of stuff why, segregation was legal at one point. So at some point, you gotta be bold. You cannot be cowardly and just hide behind legal interpretations for not doing what's right. And right now, Southwest is being bombarded with market rate units. We've had gentrification, we've had displacement. The Southwest residents said, we don't want this. We put it in the small area plan. The comprehensive plan says affordable housing should be approached as a civic priority. And yet we're still getting 3%. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. I appreciate Commissioner Turnbull for you mentioning about the location of the IZ unit. I appreciate you, Chairman Hood, and Commissioner Miller about talking about the affordable housing. Comprehensive Plan Section H1.3.1 says housing for families, but apparently in this project, only wealthy families can move into these 3-bedroom units. Comprehensive Plan Section H1.1.5 talks about housing quality, and that says specifically that affordable units should be indistinguishable from market rate units. So don't treat the affordable units as, don't give them some like a little crappy location. And then again, housing section 1.2.1 says affordable housing production as a civic priority. This is 3% is not a civic priority. I heard one of the applicants' lawyers or someone talking about the CFO study saying that if they didn't build housing, the price would go up. Yes, duh. The problem is, what type of housing do you build? So if you look at Exhibit 48, it specifically says that when you build market rate units, it says that the housing market is segmented. So if you build a whole bunch of market rate units, the market rate unit prices will drop, but it does nothing for low and moderate income prices. It actually increases it. So we're not saying don't build housing. We're saying build affordable housing. It's baffling to me that it's still in this climate of Black Lives Matter, and everyone's talking about, blacking out their profiles and muting themselves and all this other stuff. And then we're just waiting for them to actually implement it. So please, give us more than 3% affordable housing in the middle of an affordable housing crisis. Thank you.